what I'd like to talk to you about today is some little things you can do with numbers, and mainly multiplication, that will make life a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to make an online quiz, and it'll start with just some multiplications, but I'm going to explain a few other things that just might make some calculations easier for you. Now, if I had a multiplication like this, I'd do it in one of two ways. You've got column method and you've got grid method. Now, it doesn't really matter which way you use. There's not one method isn't better than the other. Personally, I teach grid method. The reason I do it is because when you do algebra, when you're going towards your GCSE, sort of year 9, you can use grid method for that as well, and it just makes it a lot easier. You can use grid method for some stuff that you do at A level. So that's why I teach grid method, because you can use it for lots of different things as you go through school. It's also linked to what we call to area, and that's why I use that one. However, at school, you've probably been taught this column method. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the 3 and the 2 by the 8. So I've got 2 times 8 is 16, and 3 times 8 is 24, plus that one, 25. Now I'm going to multiply by the 4, but because the 4 is tens, you've got to put a 0 first, because you're not doing 2 times 4, you're doing 2 times 40. So everything will be 10 times bigger. 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 4 is 12. And then all you do is you add those numbers together. And we get 1,536. Now, your primary school probably taught you that method. And if you're happy with that method, that's absolutely fine. But if you can't use that method, if you struggle with it, then I would suggest you start using the grid method. It'll take you a few times to practice it, but overall it will help you more because of the link it has with algebra. So I'm going to do the grid method for you, and we should get the same answer. Now, the first box I'm going to do is this box, and it's going to be 40 times 30. And here's one of these number sense things I'm going to teach you, where it's actually easier. You don't have to do 40 times 30. What you can do is 4 times 3, which is 12, and then I ignored this 0 and I ignored this 0, so I just put them on. Because all we've done is it's 4 times 3, but both numbers are 10 times bigger. So we make the answer 10 times bigger twice. That's why we do it. Don't worry about why. That's how we can do it. So if we look in this next box now, it's 40 times 2. Now that's quite easy. You might know 40 times 2. But if you don't, 4 times 2 is 8. I ignored that 0, so we just add that one on. Now I'm going to do this box. I'm going to ignore the 0. 8 times 3 is 24. I put the 0 I ignored back on. And the final box, 8 times 2 is 16. And what I have to do now is I have to add up these numbers. The most important thing that I have to do here is line them up, where the ones are all in one column, the tens are all in another column, hundreds in another column, and thousands in that column. So I've got 6, 13, 5 and 1. And we get the same answer, which is what should have happened. So the first thing you've got to do, you've got to choose which one you're doing. I really would recommend grid. Even if you find it harder at first, it's much better in the long term. Okay, I'm just going to go back to number sense and that question that I just did and the little thing that I just taught you. So I'm looking at these calculations. I'm going to do the first one, you can try the next two. First one, when I'm multiplying numbers like this, and we call them multiples of 10, because they've got zeros on the end. They're 4 times by 10, or it's 3 times by 10 and times by 10. They're multiples of 10. They're all in the 10 times table. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the 4 times the 3, which is 12. How many zeros did I ignore? 3. So I'll put them on the end. You pause the video now and have a go at this second question, 50 times 600. Okay, let's see if you got it right. 5 times 6 is 30. I've ignored 1, 2, 3 zeros. Put those 3 zeros on the end. 30,000. Did you get that one right? Pause the video again and try this next question. Let's see how you did. 8 times 2 is 16. I've ignored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That number's actually 1,600,000. But doing the calculation was really straightforward. I'm going to put 3 more on for you. Pause the video now and see if you can do these 3. We've got the answer of 12,000. 2 times 6 is 12, and I ignored 3 zeros, put them on. For the second one, we've got 20,000 because 5 times 4 is 20. I ignored 3 zeros, so put them on the end. And for the final question, I've got 3 times 9 is 27. Then there's 6 zeros that I ignored, so I put them on. 27 million. Those questions will be in the quiz that you have to do at the end of this video. So please make sure you remember when you multiply in multiples of 10, you just multiply the numbers and put the zeros on that you've ignored. Okay, next I'm going to show you another thing that might make life easier for you. So the first thing is, I'm going to put some questions like this in the quiz, but I am assuming that you're all right multiplying by 10 and 100. So for instance, this first question here, 12 times 10, we know that's 120. Now, most of the time, people are really good at multiplying by 10. And that helps you if you want to multiply something by 9 or if you want to multiply something by 11. So for instance, to do 12 times 9, what I will do is I will do 12 times 10, which I know is 120, and then I will take a 12 off. Because I don't want 10 lots of 12, I want 9 lots of 12. So I work out what 10 lots of 12 are, then I take 1 lot of 12 off, which gives me the answer 108. This can also be used if I'm multiplying by 11, because I can do 12 times 10, which is 120, and then I can just add another 12 on, because that's what I want. I want 11 lots of 12. 10 lots of 12 is 120. I want 11 lots, so I'll just add an extra one on. It saves me from having to do the column method or the grid method. You have a go at these 3. Pause the video now and see if you can use the trick I just did, use the number sense I just did to answer these questions. Okay, so we know 15 times 10 is 150. So if I want 15 times 9, I do 15 times 10 and take a 15 off. Remember, I want 9 lots of 15, not 10 lots, 9 lots. I can do that sum, 135. Now I want 15 times 11. I know 15 times 10 is 150, and I want 1 extra lot of 15, which gives me 165. These questions will be in the quiz that you're going to do as well. So just remember, if you're multiplying something by 9 or you're multiplying something by 11, you can multiply by 10 and then take it off or add it on. Really have a think about what you're doing there. Okay, and the final bit of number sense I'm going to teach you is when we're multiplying a big number by 5. Again, I am assuming that you're all right multiplying by 10. I'll put some of those questions in just to double check. But 16 times 10, 160. I can go use this answer to work out the answer of 16 times 5. Because 5 is half of 10, then this answer will be half of this answer. And I can use something I did earlier to help me with this one. I want to know what half of 160 is. I ignore the 0. 16, half of 16 is 8. I put the 0 back on. So that, where we ignore the zeros, do the sum, put the zeros back on, it can be quite useful in a lot of situations. The reason this works is because 5 is half of 10. So 5 lots of something will be half of 10 lots of something. People often find timesing by 10 much easier. So we multiply the 16 by 10, then half it to work out the answer of 16 times 5. I'll do one more for you. 32 times 10. 320. So we can use that answer to get 32 times 5, because the answer to 32 times 5 will be half the answer of 32 times 10, because 5 is half of 10. So 320. I want to do half of that. So I'll ignore my 0. I'll do 32. What's half of 32? Now you might have to do half of 30. Half of 2. That's 15 and 1. Then put them together. 16. And I ignored a 0, didn't I? So I need to put that onto the end. A lot of this stuff, and there's loads of things like this you can do, it's how to do quick mental maths. It's how to do maths quickly in your head. But a lot of this stems from knowing how to multiply by 10, so it's really, really important that you can multiply by 10. Interestingly, can you use 16 times 10 equals 160 to work out what 16 times 20 is? I won't put these on the quiz, but can you do that one? What do you think you do? What's happened here? So what do you think you do to the answer? In the question, we've doubled it. We need not 10 lots, but 20 lots. That's double. So in the answer, we double it. Now, by the way, these numbers, they're only the same as the other questions I've done by coincidence. It's just the numbers I've used. They have nothing to do with the other questions. You can use multiplying by 10 to get loads of things. If I wanted 60 times something, I might multiply it by 10, then multiply it by 6. Multiplying by 10 is a really important skill to have. I'll put that Hegarty Math clip in the video as well. So, read the instructions in the task and complete the quizzes that it asks you to complete. Hopefully see you soon.